every week we see how teams break down certain matchups, whether it's certain teams or players going against each other. Yes, we see that's out there. But the undrafted, they have some players, some matchups to watch out for. And we're going to dive right into it. Not too many, but some good matchups to watch out for week 2 of the NFL. Now, let's focus on the Los Angeles Chargers game and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, and we're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. And when we talk about the Los Angeles Chargers, pretty much the main one that jumps out is running back Austin Ekeler. Yes, Austin Ekeler is phenomenal. Breaking down what he did last week in week 1, he had 164 scrimmage yards, 117 rushing yards, and 47 receptions, and rushed for a touchdown last week. This is the 3rd most yards amongst all players in week 1. Ekeler actually became the 5th undrafted running back in the common draft area with 150 plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown in 5+ career games. Aims his 3rd in a row versus the Tennessee Titans with a touchdown. He had, in fact, his past 3 games on the road, including the playoffs. So Austin Ekeler definitely has totaled up some good numbers on the road. Looking forward to seeing how he's going to dominate against the Tennessee Titans team, who is a very physical team, but nonetheless, it still does not stop Austin Ekeler from doing what he's going to do in the field. And also, we're going to talk about his teammate, defensive back, J.C. Jackson. He had 3 pass defense and his 26th career interception. First as a Charger last week in week 1. He had an interception and a fumble recovery in his last game versus the Titans, dating back to November 28th, 2021, when he was then with the New England Patriots. So Jackson, a ball hawk, we know what he's going to do. We're going to really see what he's going to do in this matchup. And yes, he's going to be matched up with one of my other players that came through the process of the NFL Regional Combine. And talking about Nick Westbrook-ikhine. Nick Westbrook-ikhine last week had 58 reception yards in week 1. So we saw what he was able to do last week. And what I would say with Westbrook-ikhine, watch out for him on 3rd down. He's really at his best in 3rd down situations. Have bailed out the Titans in 3rd down situations many a times. Now, we know chances are that these guys are going to link. Yes, both of these players, Jackson and Westbrook-ikhine, are starters. So they will match up on this field. Watch out for this matchup with the Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. Now, another matchup for you guys to look out for is dealing with the Las Vegas Raiders and the Buffalo Bills. Starting with the Raiders, when we look at wide receiver Jacoby Myers. He led the team last week in week 1 with 9 catches for 81 yards and had a career high of 2 touchdowns. It's the first time in one game, a career high, he had 2 touchdowns in one game. That was the best for him ever. He's 1 out of 5 players with 2 receptions, touchdowns in week 1. Now he's looking for his 5th in a row, 5 in a row, in the receptions for a touchdown in the game. He had a touchdown pass in his last game versus the Buffalo Bills, and this dating back to January 8th, 2023, when he was with New England Patriots. So that's where he got his start from. Yes, he did take a hit last week. Quite for sure that he still will be in a lineup for week 2, but if he is, look for him to actually be one of those guys to catch, to be very effective, because he does know Josh Daniels' system very well. So that's why he was able to jump right into that right away. So as far as on the Buffalo Bills side, there's no one there as far as undrafted wise to watch out for right now, but still watch that game, because the Bills do have several undrafted players out there to watch out for. Now we're going to go right to the San Francisco 49ers, and they're going up against the Los Angeles Rams. And when we talk about the 49ers, they're loaded with defensive backs, undrafted players out there to watch out for. But what we're going to watch out for is Tre'Davious Ward. Tre'Davious Ward had his 6th interception last week, and that was a beautiful interception, how he was able to sky and catch this pass right here. That was phenomenal. Really good to see him back after being injured last year. Really showing a lot of good control in this play. Definitely one of those ball hawks, one of the very few defensive backs that actually can catch. So definitely watch out for that matchup. And then watch out for the Rams, because they do have several undrafted players that is playing on the front seven. So watch out for those guys. We'll call their names out down the road. They didn't really do too much last week in week 1. So, but just watch out for them this week. I'm quite sure they're going to pull off something for week 2. All right, here we go. Now, the New York Jets at the Dallas Cowboys is pretty much going to be probably the game of the day, despite not having Aaron Rodgers, who suffered that Achilles injury in week 1 on the 4th play of the season. I didn't want to talk about football at all. It hurt me. That's something. Anyway, gotta keep going. Game doesn't stop for an injury, so we gotta keep on, and we're looking forward to him to coming back next year. All right, now here we go. Now dealing with the Jets, wide receiver Allen Lazard, who came from the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. He actually led the Jets last week with 46 reception yards at his debut as a New York Jet. So definitely going to watch out for what he's going to do. And also the rookie punt returner, who had the game winner 65-yard in overtime in his debut, not just for the Jets, but in the NFL. That young man on this play here made history. The third punt return, that's for a touchdown in the overtime in NFL history. The third time that this was happening. That was a remarkable thing. Therefore, it said Xavier Gibson to make history in the NFL. That was fantastic. And on Dallas Cowboys side, several things. You have some players there that are on undrafted. They're not starters, but we hope that some of those players will get some burn, as my son would say, on the field. And then when we go for the Washington Commanders and the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos pretty much loaded, one of those teams there that has several undrafted players there. And one of their big-time undrafted players, this guy, Little Jordan Humphries had a touchdown last week in week 1, back of the end zone, good spot. He definitely did his thing and continued to do his thing and actually elevated his game from the past couple of years. So definitely looking forward to seeing what he's going to do out there in week 2 against the Commanders. Linebacker Alex Singleton, he led the team last week with 8 tackles and he had a pass defense. Now he looks for his 6 in a row. Having at least 7 tackles. And last time when he had played the Washington Commanders, he had 8+ tackles. So he's definitely want to make sure he continue his stride against this team, making sure that he get at least 7 tackles. But the last time he played against the Commanders, he had 8. So definitely look out for this fiery type of linebacker for the Denver Broncos. Definitely looking forward to seeing this man do well in the league. He did well with the CFL, came right to the NFL, picked up where he was off in the Canadian League, and he's becoming one of the better linebackers in the National Football League. And then we're going to mosey on down to the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. Like I said, the Miami Dolphins had the most undrafted running backs on their roster. And when we look at one of their big-time running backs, like Raheem Mostert, he had 50 scrimmage yards last week, 37 rushing, 13 receiving, and his 15th career touchdown in week 1. He had 91 scrimmage yards, 92 receiving yards, and 29 rushing yards with a career best 8 carries, including a touchdown reception in the last meeting against New England Patriots. So he actually had a good game against New England Patriots. Last week he didn't get off too much on the ground game, but I'm looking for him to actually really blow up this week against the New England Patriots, a team that he's very, very familiar. River Crawcraft, he actually had his 3rd career touchdown last week in this exciting game when they went up against the Chargers. So definitely watch out for those guys in this matchup to see. With that, on the other side with Kendrick Bourne for the New England Patriots, he had 6 catches for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1. Now, he's one out of 5 receivers in the NFL that had 2 touchdowns in week 1. You already read off of one with Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne, he did the exact same thing in week 2, having 2 touchdowns. So that was a solid thing there. And then we get into our last matchup with undrafted players to watch out for when it comes down to the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. Now Rashid Shaheed, he had a career high of 100 scrimmage yards, 89 receptions, 11 rushing yards, and his 3rd career touchdown catch last week. Now, Shaheed for the Saints. Now, this young man right here is going to be a star in this league. He exploded on the scene last year. Do not see him falling back or taking a step backwards this year. The way how the Saints used him in that offense last week, expect to see him being used heavily, not just for week 2, but throughout the rest of the season. I think he actually is quietly putting a stamp on himself in the National Football League with his performance and the way how he was used in week 1. So definitely watch out for number 22 for the New Orleans Saints. And then when it comes down to the Carolina Panthers, the great one and only Adam Thielen. Yes, you know that this guy right here was always with the Vikings. Now he is a Panther. And last week in week 1, he had 32 receptions. Now, Adam Thielen's history with the New Orleans Saints is pretty good. He had 32 receptions, 8 in each game, and when he played against them in the past, and he actually had 429 yards, averaging 107.3 per game, and have 2 touchdown receptions in his past 4 games versus the Saints. Now he's looking for his 5th in a row against the Saints to have at least 7 receptions against them. So he actually have a good history against the New Orleans Saints. Don't see too much different here. Yes, you have a new quarterback there with Bryce Young. Know that he's a young stud trying to really get his first win in the NFL. Knowing you have a veteran wide receiver like that, don't be surprised if Adam didn't have himself a solid game. Okay, folks, there we go. That's the wrap up for week 2. To watch out for in regards of the undrafted free agents. Make sure you guys follow, make sure you guys subscribe and follow and keep up. Watch these great highlights that we do weekly, and also some breakdowns, some good stuff about some NFL information that you will not hear or see anywhere else. Everyone stay blessed. Come back next week, talk about what these guys did for week 2, and then we get you guys all emotional high for week 3. Everybody, happy week 2. Let's go.